All right, Chris, is it okay if I undrape your back down to your hips?
Recording in progress.
Yes.
Can I show you where that is?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go from the top down with the heavy side of my hand. Is down to here okay?
That's perfect.
All right, so I can see he's got some kind of shorts or something that end here. So I'm just going to go to where his shorts end. Draping, we want to keep we call it draping even though we use sheets or linens. We want to keep it close to their body. We don't want to make we're playing the parachute game, because the drafts of air can make it feel vulnerable to the person even if we're not seeing anything. So we keep the sheet down low, close to their body, and we bring it down a little bit at a time. Now, it's normal for this to take you longer at first, and it's better to err on the side of caution. So go ahead and take your time, and your draping will be slower, and over time your draping will get faster. Can I tuck the drape under your shorts?
Yes.
Okay. So you want to use firm hands and tuck it under. And then we're going to tuck the sides. I like to stand across the table, pull the client towards me, and tuck. Some people tuck from the same side. What we want to do is lift enough and press the sheet down towards the table that we don't pinch the person. And we also don't want to do like a lot of little ticklish motions or have our fingers go up into the hips, which could feel ticklish or vulnerable. Is it okay if I tuck your sides?
Yeah.
Okay. So you might feel better right-handed or left-handed with one of your hands as your strength hand and the other as a tuck hand. If you mess up, you can ask the client if you can re-tuck, and that would be better than doing lots of little tucking motions. So I'm going to pull the client towards me, and I'm going to put the sheet underneath their hip, and then let the client back down, and this should be nice and tight. And it should be low to their body and as much as possible a clean line. Now, if we're going to massage all the way down to the sacrum, you could, with permission, take this sheet all the way. The lowest you would go is the top of the gluteal cleft, the butt crack. You don't ever obviously want to expose that. But at the top of it, where the sacrum is angled like this is a nice place to massage. But if they leave their underwear on, you can stop there. Yep. Questions? Yes?
Is that the distance you will undrape for a woman too? Or is that especially on their face?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, if they have underwear on, you can stop at the level of the underwear. Ask permission to tuck under so you don't get lotion or oil on their clothes. But if they don't, you can go with permission. Same thing all the way down to, if this is the gluteal cleft, just above it. Yeah, never uncovered. But the sacrum is a great place to work. And whoever your client is, you always just get permission first. And the faster thing, we take things very slowly here while you're learning, but the fastest thing in a real practice is to get informed consent about everything you're going to do, including the undraping, at the beginning, because in your real practice, people don't want to talk about draping the whole massage, right? But this is our learning steps that we ask each time. Yep. Is this support under your ankles in a good position, or would you prefer it higher or lower?
It's perfect.
Beautiful. And notice I just said I could say support or pillow. You just don't want to use the word bolster. And then for the face cradle, it can go up, down, wider, narrower, or is it good?
I think it's good.
Okay, great. Will you let me know if anything is ever uncomfortable? You want me to stop what I'm doing?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now, a lot of people wear a holster. We have some here. You can buy one, they're cheap. if you want to wear your product on you so you can always apply it easily. I don't really like to wear them. We also have aprons where I work. You can also keep it in your apron and have it right there. If you're not wearing it, you'll want to not put it on the ground. You can put it on a table or something. And don't put it somewhere where the client's going to either knock it off or just kind of feel creepy like they don't know what's on their body. Questions, comments, so far? All right, so we're going to start. That's hilarious that won't go off. Could somebody try to turn that off so it's not in our background? Well, Lucy. Ha! It worked now. Good job. Okay, so our client wanted some lotion, and some people start Swedish massage with a little bit of compression, and then the other most common way to start is right with effleurage. So today we're going to start with a little bit of effleurage, and effleurage is our long flowing strokes. And it's a great way to apply the product, and we're always going to start lighter and then get deeper as things warm up. And the first stroke, we want to be especially light to apply the product. And I would recommend that you err on the side of a little bit too little product, because you can always add more. It's easier than getting rid of too much. And sometimes when people are learning massage, they use so much lotion or oil that it's hard to do like deeper work, and we don't want to just do a skin massage. So we're going to start with longer flowing strokes. And tomorrow we're going to go stroke by stroke with a hand out and follow it step by step. But today we're going to start just kind of like a little bit more of a exploration with some of the primary strokes rather than like how to do it on the entire back step by step. Your exact body mechanics are going to, of course, look different depending on how tall you are and how big your hands are. But I'm 5'5", and I find that for most clients, if I have 1 foot for my longer strokes on the side of the table and 1 foot on the front of the table, I can reach with these longer strokes. Some people are tall enough to stand way up here, but you can see how I lose my strength about here, and now I'm like, that's not good for my body right there. So we start off lighter. And now I'm going to start sinking in a little bit. And just like we learned for compression, you can sink in more where the muscles are and lighten up where the bony landmarks are. And I'm going to keep today's demo short so you can practice just getting a feeling for things. And then tomorrow, Wednesday, we'll have a longer step-by-step. You can feel that into the deltoids. Your shot was on this side?
Yeah.
About here?
A little higher.
A little higher. Okay, so I'm not going to go around the side there today. We'll stop up on the top here. Just go around to the acromion and across the neck. Now, some people, when they learn Swedish massage, especially for like these effleurage, long flowy strokes, sometimes people learn to do like each stroke like 3 times, 5 times, or 7 times. I am not so much of a counting strokes person, but I do find that repeating the strokes and getting deeper and deeper each time is helpful. So even with effleurage, after your first strokes, you could be sinking into the tissue. Can you see how I've got a good crunchy spot there? So I don't want to make the mistake that just because I'm doing like a flowy technique that I'm giving him a skin massage. That feels super annoying. Nobody likes a skin massage. So you start off on the skin, but then you quickly get to all the wonderful muscle layers. So sinking in. Now, ooh, I want to transition to petrissage. It's happening.
Nice.
So petrissage is a lifting, squeezing, pulling, twisting like you're, making some kind of dough. So don't be afraid of getting into those muscles. How you use your hands can vary, depending sort of on which angle muscle and how big your hands are, but you want to be really squeezing through the muscular layers, lifting it, pulling it, twisting it. So now I'm getting up under. There's some good tight fibers there. Questions so far?
I
Now,
was gonna ask if there's anything that you saw when you were first looking at him, like assessing wise, or when you first put your hands down palpation wise. Because there's like an initial kind of assessment.
So we are assessing right from the first look and from every step of the massage, and I can see that we're more raised in here, and we're more raised in here, and these ESGs are quite tight. And then as I palpate, I can feel we've got some good tightness here as well, and I'm sure there's other things too, and we're not doing a treatment massage, but those are just some first things. Now, in a Swedish massage, a relaxation massage, it's very typical to do the same thing on both sides, and your client looks forward to a repetitive pattern. But if you do find imbalances or differences on the left and the right, you can do something different on the left and the right. You just generally want to talk to your client about what you've seen and why you're doing that, so they don't think you're just spacing out. So these ESGs, that's a very raised ESG. So we're going to do some work down the ESGs. Now, his spine is right here. And as you're kind of more beginning palpation, you might want to keep one hand right there so you know that you're not pushing up on that spine. All these strokes, we always want to start lighter and then work deeper, and I'm assessing the whole time. And here, coming to a tighter spot. Tighter spots, they need the same warm-up. I'll just come back to it and slow down with it more when I come back. Yeah, I was using all these, yeah. You can also use that with your forearm, elbow, or even hand. So I will show it on this side just because for the camera, and this is where I'm standing. You can do the same thing with your palm. And you might notice that I'm pressing the muscle in a different direction now. It's okay to press this ESG towards the spine or away from the spine. Both can be very effective. And rocking is definitely a part of Swedish massage. It can help the nervous system relax and not really pay attention to the same holding patterns. They respond differently. So if I was to repeat that kind of ESG stroke, I could get deeper with kind of the flat part of my elbow. And again, this takes practice, so you can use your sensing hand. I'm protecting his spine. I'm aware of where his spine is, and my other hand is getting in. Now, the further up your hand is, the more pointy you're using your elbow, so you want to start down easy. And as you get deeper and deeper, that would be a lovely time to check in about pressure. And Krish, if we use a 1 to 10 scale where 7 is perfect, his breathing just shifted. 10 is too deep and 1 is too light, and 7 is perfect. Where's his pressure at?
My leg's twitching. It's a 7.
All right, beautiful. Thank you for letting me know. Would you let me know anytime it's too much or too little?
My belly button. No, it's 7.
So I can feel his breath
Sheesh.
shifting. And I'm hanging out where it's tighter.
Are you putting more pressure with your like elbow or your right hand?
My elbow, yeah. This one is kind of just protecting his spine. I can work without my hand there right now, but this is a great way to learn how to use your elbow. Don't be afraid to use your elbow. It saves your hands and thumbs and wrists. So it can often feel awkward at first, but it just takes practice. And you want to start that practice right from the get-go. Now, you can do the same kind of technique, sometimes standing at the top of the table facing down, or I might find that I work better with my other hand. So go ahead and experiment with your body mechanics and see what works better for you.
If somebody has recently had a vaccine, and kind of like how if somebody was just starting to get sick and they come get a massage, it can like really make it stronger. Do you know if that happens with the vaccine?
You can see the client is very responsive with their breath work, so then you can adjust your pressure with that. I don't know that there's enough to give you a research-based answer.
Just from your experience, if that's an issue at all?
I would say, it depends kind of on how much your client is reacting. So I would say, in general, just as if they had well, you're not going to massage them if they have the flu, but if they're fatigued and experiencing all over body soreness and stuff, then you would just want to go easier on them because their body's already processing a lot.
But you could still, it's not contraindicated?
That's right. Yeah. But it's like as if they had an autoimmune condition too, where if they were having a flare-up, we wouldn't do a lot of circulatory things at that time, and we wouldn't challenge their system a lot at that time. So you would just go easy with them.
Zephyr, when you mentioned earlier, trying to do the same moves on each side of the body, do you have any tips for remembering, your flow or kind of the steps that you take to ensure that you're doing it the same?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, some massage therapists do a routine and do the exact same thing every time. That's definitely one way to remember what you're doing. We're going to start with following a sequence, and you'll see how much you kind of want to follow that sequence is helping you. But you'll probably create your own flow to follow your same, So I kind of have a major flow pattern I tend to do, but then it varies upon how much of a focus time we have for a certain area. So I might spend a half an hour on this area, in which case my pattern would be different. Excuse me.
But would you still try to make sure you kind of run through the rest of the body though for the continuity of the massage, even if you kind of by surprise end up working on this one area for a long time?
Yeah, well, great questions, and we don't want to by surprise work on an area in a way that it changes the treatment plan. So we've made an agreement with the client ahead of time, and that includes where we're going to work and how long and where we're not going to work. So the longer work would be if we agreed on that. If you want to change that, you should talk to them about it and not just get lost in an area. Mm-hmm. But I try to make those agreements ahead of time because they're going to get in an altered state. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to change agreements when they're in an altered state. They might agree to something that they wouldn't not in an altered state. As to the other part of your question, It depends on what your agreement is with the client. You make that treatment plan and what the client wants. And sometimes they want you to still give them a full body massage, even though it's focused somewhere. And sometimes they're okay with you skipping areas to focus more in other areas. So that's part of your plan too. So when they're like, oh yeah, I want to focus on my back and shoulders, and then you check in. So do you want just those areas, or do you want me to also get a full body massage in? And then you clarify from there.
So what I'm thinking, if you
I'm
get
using
into,
my flat right now.
if you get into an area that you're like, whoa, that's really significantly tight.
Uh-huh.
I guess if the person is very lucid, can you renegotiate? You know?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep. And the only reason we didn't go over that step today is because we're only working here, so we just got
Yeah.
permission for that. Yep. So I like to use a lot of different tools, like the flat part here, the knuckles here, these knuckles here, and I can keep my wrist and my arm straighter and use my body weight more that way. Do you guys remember the rule of thumb?
Always have a support or stick it near your hand more.
That's a great support your thumb. Yep, there's another rule of thumb. Don't work on anything bigger than your thumb with your thumb.
Oh.
So if I'm looking with a little muscle and it's my thumb size or smaller, I can use my thumb. If it's bigger than my thumb, I don't want to hurt my thumb with it. That was free with admission. Notice I'm taking this all the way out. You guys know these muscles now, right? So we're going to follow all the way out. So your infraspinatus work is going to go all the way into the deltoids. And how's that pressure?
7.
Beautiful.
Doesn't it feel like you ever press super hard?
Uh-huh.
And it feels like you've been just kind of twisting and sitting and paying attention to what a particular area and then where that muscle connects.
Mm.
And then when you feel where the muscle connects, you just push toward that area,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's it.
There you go. That's it.
That's what I've been feeling.
May I put my hand in front of your shoulder?
Yeah.
Notice that when I ask permission, I wait for a response. I don't ask while I'm doing it. If I put my hand in, I can go sideways, so I'm not touching too far forward. And I lifted his shoulder to do that. Now, his deltoid is pretty big to compare to the size of my hand. If I was working with someone's deltoid that was like more like my hand size, I could go through it all just with my hand. But for this case, I'm gonna use both hands. You may recall something similar to this with Elizabeth in compression. It is very similar. We're now working through these layers. And this is another version of petrissage. So Swedish uses a lot of effleurage and petrissage. Let me show you another version of petrissage up here on the traps. This one is called fulling, F-U-L-L-I-N-G. You have something in front of the muscle, anterior to the muscle. In this case, I'm going to use my finger pads. Something behind the muscle, in this case, the heel of my hand. And I'm going to lift with my front finger. See how I'm really lifting that muscle? And then I'm going to squeeze and press through with my other hand, or other part of my hand. And I'm going to do it rhythmically in a way that's really like stretching the dough, kneading the dough.
That's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah. So I'm really like, literally like, if he was, this muscle right now was taffy, I'm like pulling the taffy. I feel a muscle in there, and I'm on it, and I'm pulling it. So I'm not like randomly going like this. What does that difference feel to you,
What?
Krish?
The
As opposed to getting into the muscle and really stretching it and working through it.
that feels like you're taking your time at the free throw line. You know what I mean?
There you go.
You're kind of like, you're sitting there, you're feeling how it feels when you jostle it around. And maybe if it's tight in that spot, you twist it in the opposite direction. And then you just keep doing that until you complete some principle in your mind or something like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So notice how much we can lift that muscle.
Woo.
Woo!
Oh.
Woo! Woo!
Ah.
Notice how we're lifting the muscle. Notice how it's getting pink. This stroke is really good at bringing blood to the area.
I feel it in my throat when you do that. I
Bringing.
got a problem with that, yeah, right there.
You got a problem with it?
No. I'm
Okay.
just saying, it's it's not a problem, but it's a problem.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does now.
Okay. Yeah, problem area.
This is a variation on the same stroke. So I'm using my fingers together for strength to get very precise now in feeding that tissue. And notice I'm going all the way up to what's this bony landmark this way? Right? So if I get deeper and deeper here, I'm going to get past trapezius and deep to it. And when I get deep to it right in there, what am I at now? Beautiful, supraspinatus. So we are working those muscles out, and you know that the trap goes all the way here, right? So, and deltoid meets it, right? It's friends. So I'm going all the way there. I'm not skimping on this good lateral stuff. Woo, and there's another good spot.
Oh, yeah.
Intensity level.
See it? Hey.
Great. All right. I really want to mobilize the scapula, but that is another day. All right. So those are really where we want to start. Friction and range of motion and tapotement can be another day, but we want to start with long flowy strokes, effleurage, and kneading the dough kind of strokes, petrissage. And you can focus on the area where you know the muscles the most, and kind of really start in the shoulders, and you can also work down ESGs. And I think that'll be a good starting point for today. And tomorrow we'll walk more step through step, like next level. Keep in mind, as you're starting to work those muscles, whether it's effleurage or petrissage or compression, that you know some of these muscles now, right? And so you want to take this to the muscle origins and insertions. So don't work trap just here. You can literally feel this upper trap and how it travels around. So I'm in that trap. And this may look aggressive, so I want to point out that when you follow it up here, you want to make sure you're going up and in and not shove their face down into the cradle, right? But it's kind of like a mama cat, right? They grab their young ones by the scruff.
That's what it feels like.
So you want to be like a loving parent when you grab them by the scruff, not an evil human. Intensity level?
7.
Cool. When you get really good at judging people's intensity level, you don't have to ask as much. But when you're a student, it's better to err on the side of asking them too much, right? You can cut back on that later. But right now you check in and make sure. And then we're going to end with just a tiny bit of effleurage. And the lotion sunk in. And actually, lotion is my preferred product for that reason, because when you start using it, it's flowy, but then it sinks in for your deep work, whereas the oil will stay oily, but I still do what the client prefers. So we're just going to do a couple